Yes, once again, this is the main document, and these are the other reference material: Aeronautical Information Manual, Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, Aeronautical Information Services, Aeronautical Chart, User's Guide, and this one we should pay special attention because this is the workbook that you are going to get when you go to the examination center to do the UAG, that means Unmanned Aircraft General Test. So this is the cover. If I scroll down, you see this: do not mark in this book. Once you see this, you know that is the book you are going to get for your test. And on this workbook you got the legend aeronautical sectional chart, and so much of other things are given to you on the workbook itself. In other words, if I may put it so, FAA wants to make sure that you pass this examination and not fall through the cracks. Here, yes, in addition to those reference manuals, reference books, you on the login procedure itself, if you go to the page 2 of the login procedure, before even you log in, you see all these other reference marked over here. In fact, we have screenshots of them on our website also to make it easy for you. So you schedule the test in such a way like before you get in, at least before the date of the UAG test, where you have to go to the test center, try to finish up the course like a few days before, and then I would say devote totally 2 days, 2 days or maybe one, but tell your family, tell your husband, wife, spouse, children, everybody to keep away from you, and totally do the course on the website 107 part 107, and finish up within the 2 days rather than dragging it on little by little. And I stress again, do it twice, complete it, but do not take the test. You can come back and go through one more time and do the test. So friends, this is the airspace classification chart. This really airspace classification carries a lot of meat, so we really have to get this down really well. So think of like inverted wedding cake is a very common usage on this airspace classifications. On top you get the class A, that is 18,000 mean sea level to flight level 600. Flight level 600 means you add 2 zeros, that is 60,000. And of course, if it is in Great Britain, you add 2 notes. That's another thing over there, but it's all the same. And when you look at these class B airports, like the BC humongous airports like JFK or LAX, you have not 2 tiers, you have 3 tiers, and that is for you to make it easy to remember. When you say class B, think of BC airports or big airports, and class C airport also is 2 tier, so to remember that, to think of still crowded airports. And class D is only cylindrical, there is no double tier, and to remember that, D means dialogue. You have to communicate with the control tower, because even class D airports, there's a control tower. And then we are going to go in length on the restricted airspace, whatever not covered by Class B, at least Class A, Class B, Class C, and Class D is Class E. So as remote pilots, Class G is the one that we can operate as long as we keep with under 400 feet and away from the 5 miles radius away from the airports. So Class G, we can look at it and say good to go. And also I am going to bring up another example, look at my coffee cup. Look at the shape of that. Let me see, we got the good image on that. Yes, you got the on the top diameter is larger and at the bottom is lower, and if you think of Class E, all this area could be considered at Class E, and going out down to this depression and at stages up to 700 feet AGL and 1200 feet AGL. We will discuss that a little length. Yeah, this cup I got it from Pier 1. One might ask why I want to show that. Yeah, look at that, those cups from Pier 1. Yeah, I better get back to the course without getting into trouble over here. This is like a commercial coming up within the course. Or yeah, Pier 1 should send me send U-Drone anywhere a check, or forget about the check. They should enroll more students for us. That should be nice. Yeah, getting serious again. We will discuss on sectional aeronautical chart legend details of these colors, how they use magenta and blue color to define a lot of things. We'll go into all those details. Yeah, while we are in it, forget about my coffee mug. Even if you consider your cup or your mug in your vehicle, you may have smaller diameter bottom, and on the top portion it may have a bigger diameter. Why I say I am bringing in all these other examples so that you would remember this upside down wedding cake thing, or even I would call it, I haven't heard anybody else saying that, but think of the merging like convergence, like a V-shaped convergence. In other words, if you think this is a JFK airport, see SBC as JFK, the world-renowned airport, there may be flights coming from all over the place, from Paris, London, Nova Scotia, and then around this area there are a lot of air traffic activity. So of course with the aids, radar and all other nav aids, the air traffic controller will try to keep planes separate without bouncing to each other. But if you consider down here, you may not have that danger that much, because by that time all the planes like a humongous jumbo jet and all that may have lined up with marker beacons and glide slopes and everything, where it is on the path, runway path to land nicely. So getting those big planes getting stuck around here is much more unlikely than over here, where so many planes come into the vicinity. Yeah, that's why I give one other method, imaginary thing for you to think of it as a V-shaped convergence. Nobody else I have heard saying this, but I'm going to say that anyway. Maybe they take me to gallows, I don't know. In fact, on our website, module 8, figure 4, you have the airspace classification. Excuse me, I didn't mean to cough. And I didn't mention how to remember A classification. Always remember the altitude. That would be one way to remember that. So you got to remember what's the motive here is FAA needs you to know these conditions. Not that you are flying around all these areas, but definitely the knowledge is needed as far as FAA is concerned for the safety. So folks, we are going to cover each area one by one, and what I said, you are given the workbook for this weather report. This is META, Aviation Routine Weather Report, and there's another one, TAF. Yes, this looks crazy, right? Yeah, that's the assumption I got myself when I looked at it for the first time, but don't worry about it. I'm going to decode every code over here, and mind you, this is the only only chart weather report that we would be dealing with. In other words, they for the test they only give you stuff from that workbook itself. So how difficult it's going to be? That's why we keep saying, if you do the course properly, even you cannot fail this test even if you want to. And there could be 2 or 3 questions on weather reports, and and once I go through all that, and if you still get this question wrong, I think even if you stab me, it's better than getting this question wrong. So that's definitely a question, a few marks that you can get. Yeah, along with that, on the workbook we get so many maps. So, but the fact of the matter is, you do have the maps. You can study them before you go to the test. In fact, I would suggest to print out the maps. I know my eyesight is not great at my age, but even for a person whose eyesight is 20/20, these are cluttered, really cluttered maps. I would even say FAA is doing a fine job on the Part 107 examination, and they are doing a fine job on eye testing too. Hopefully FAA don't come after me for saying that. But there are 2 things that you would want to take to the examination center. One of them would be the magnifying glass. Some test centers might even give that, but you want to check it before you go to the test center. And the other one is basic calculator, like one of these. Somebody at the house got it from Staples long time ago, and I don't know where you're going to get these kind of calculators, basic calculators now, because you are not allowed to take your smartphone into the test cubicle. So you might want to ask your mother-in-law, grandma for this calculator. But I'm sorry, I purposely say these things because experts say even in an intricate subject like aeronautics, little humor helps. So beyond that, yes, those 2 items you should take to the test center. Yeah, talking about calculators, this question is also on the workbook, so there is no reason to get this question wrong on the load factor chart. Depending on the angle of bank, the load factor, and then you can calculate it. You have to multiply by 1.154. In fact, I am okay with mental calculation comparing to my genius kids generation. I can do it without a calculator, but as you know, if you have been doing these kind of tests, it's always better to iron out the dumb questions first, and you can devote I'm sorry, shouldn't use the word dumb, the easy questions first, and you have more time to deal with the ambiguous and harder questions. And didn't I kept saying that my math is so bad in other modules? But yeah, basic calculations I'm okay. So I suggest you take the calculator particularly for this question.